Ipswich Buses, your local bus company serving your football team. Buses run every 10 minutes. Avoid the traffic. Don't get stuck in the delay. Get Ipswich Buses today. A single from only £1.20, a return from only £2. Find out more information at www.ipswichbuses.co.uk. Ipswich Buses, proud to partner with Talking Town. Again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Monday night's Talking Town Extra Time. They say the keys to success are consistency. Well, this is the start of a busy week, not just for me and the channel, but of course for Town FC. A chance for them to showcase consistency and quality. On the back of an enjoyable weekend, two big opportunities loom large. But first, let us use the first half of this show tonight to get the wheels in motion and take one last look at the weekend. And let's be honest, Mondays in general are just so much better after three lovely points. Before we go any further, we must first remind you all that this is a show and platform here for you, the ITFC fan, every single week, through hell or high water, through sickness and in health. And I have a lot of sicknesses, trust me. We are here to deliver not only the very best, but also the most entertaining ITFC chat and content around. With, of course, the chance for you all to have your say on your football club in your own words. In addition to, of course, listening and being with other ITFC fans. Except the Lemons. They all get checked at the door. As always, if you do get value from the platform, and if you do enjoy the chat and content, then please do consider supporting me by becoming a YouTube member or a Fifth Stand TT Ultra using the Ko-Fi links in the live chat now or in the description if you're watching this back or listening on our audio platforms. These wonderful guys and girls, known as the TT Fifth Stand members, have already gone to Ko-Fi and pledged to support us monthly. And without them, we could not do what we do. I could not be sat here right now about to deliver one of the best hours of your life. Asterisks, not guaranteed. At $4.99 a month, each show is worth something like 32p, with shows such as the Away Day Guide with Amy Downs, which is now on the channel for Sheffield Wednesday at the end of this week, available to watch. Transfer specials we did last week on Backinson on the channel to watch. Pre-game and Fans React post-game shows, both on the channel following Saturday's win, all thrown in as an extra. Crazy. Anyway, on to tonight's show. On tonight, we have two of Talking Town's finest contributors with a jam-packed show. More jam-packed in this show than a jam donut. Trust me. What is it about jam donuts these days? They get less and less. Anyway, I digress. We've got two players recalled. Where does that leave the current players in that position group? Haladki, Holy, Piggott, Jackson. Prediction League, Don's chat, and a whole lot more. But first, let me introduce to you one of the finest around. He is an artist, a designer, a great guy, the man, the myth, the absolute legend of Talking Town, Mr. George Nunn. Georgie!
You're too kind.
How you doing?
I'm all right.
Good. It's been a while. It's been a minute since the last saw you.
3 days, yeah.
It's been a good minute. I've missed you. What a weekend of action. But of course, well, I mentioned the lone players coming back there. Tyrese Simpson, the goalkeeper whose name escapes me. I will find it out when we come to discuss it. But one of the players who departed on loan, Miles Kenlock.
Bring him back.
Bring it back. He scored on his debut, George. Can you believe it?
I can believe it, but yeah, that was.
You can believe it?
No, I can believe it. Yeah, I think I said last week. I said I think it's a good move for him. Yeah, I'm pleased for him.
Did Aaron Drinning score? That's what I want to know.
I don't need to pay attention to Adrian anymore. I've already won that one. Should we have a
I
ten-off?
see.
Should we have a
So
10-off
once
bet?
we've won it, we bin it. I see. We flush it. I like that. All right. We've got a lot to get through tonight. We're discussing talking points. Obviously, last night I sent you some. Was looking at it today. I was looking at the show, but everything just seems to kick off on a Monday afternoon. So since then, we've had some Sam Morsey, which we'll get into. We'll probably start with that. So if you are fired up about Sam Morsey possibly receiving a 3-game ban, if you agree with it, there'll be a link incoming very shortly. But first, let's bring in somebody else who is going to complete our team. He is the dynamo in midfield, and it's time. It's time to grab your popcorn and settle down for the award-winning. I'm sure somewhere, someone somewhere will give it an award. People get awards for everything these days, George, don't they? So, I mean, someone somewhere will see this one day and say it deserves an award. But popcorn, ready, by order of the piggy. Tuxford, here is the best I can do for you. Look, it's turning my green screen light on and off a few times. Look, there you go. That's the pyrotechnics budget spent for the month. George, Mark, we've missed you. How are you?
I'm very well, mate. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm just wondering if my contributors are now coordinating sort of wardrobes because
did you not get the message about the Rising
evidently fucking not. No, because you're wearing the Rising cap. George up there is wearing the Rising hoodie. What is it about you lot getting the Rising merch? Are we that in love with the Americans?
For me, I just thought it would be a good idea, obviously, with the new ownership and supporting their side. So I've been kind enough to support our side, so I thought I would support their side.
Jeremy asks, "Are you a salt and sweet or salty popcorn person, Mark?"
I quite like salt, actually.
Yeah,
prefer it over sweet.
Well, we've got some salt to pour, and you talk about supporting things. The team card points. When I asked you if you had any talking points, that's one of the first things you shot back at me with. So, what? Look, listen. It was a nightmare Saturday. The club shop was not a place I'd want to be for track and trace. Put it that way. Talk to me, Mark. What about the team card points? Has you hot under the collar and salty? What's going on?
I think it's quite shambolic, personally.
Shambolic, he says.
I mean, I went in that club shop on Saturday. Couldn't move for anything. Couldn't swing a cat in there. But it was one of them sort of things where, for me, everything in there is kind of overpriced a little bit for me. And the fact that, you could buy a jacket in there from the Adidas shop for what, 20, 30 quid. As soon as you put Ipswich badge on it, it's 50. So it's a bit ridiculous in that sense. But the main point that I was getting antagonized by was that, why have we got to spend it before a certain amount of time? Why have we got to spend it before the end of January? By the end of January.
Absolutely, yes.
And it doesn't go on tickets. And, for me, I just think that's a bit of a letdown. You want to get people through the door, you want to get people watching it, etc., etc. So why can't we spend that money on the tickets?
It's ridiculous. I completely agree with you that you can't use it on tickets. You've got a deadline, and they didn't add, George, the Lincoln points into the club card. But they know they've sold the Lincoln tickets. We know that because Crunch, part of the platform, bless him, he drove the tickets sales. But so at some point you're going to get about £7.50 to £9 added on for Lincoln. You tell me what you can buy in the second mortgage shop for.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? I think that's such a small amount of money that adding it to the original amount would probably have made much more use to people.
We've got new sponsors, George. Woodpecker, the mortgage protection experts. You'd literally need to see them to go in that club shop.
I'll tell you what can you get for a tenner in that club shop though? What, a key ring? That's about it, and that's about £6.
Hang on, yeah. Talk, George. Well, I find.
No, I was going to say, coming back to the previous point about this stuff, right? So I get this stuff sent because, as you know, my girlfriend's family live in Phoenix, so Phoenix have genuinely, and only because of the new owners, become my second team. But
yeah,
but one thing I'll say about the Americans and their merchandise for all of their sports teams, it is expensive, but it is always exceptionally good quality. You look at right down to their replica kits that you buy. The quality of them is far surpasses anything that we do here. And from t-shirts to caps to water bottles to tops like this, all kinds of things right across the board. I would expect to pay more in America than here for merchandise, but the quality is so much better.
I can't be sure of the price on this because I scrapped it out. So I probably was going to give it to someone for a Christmas present and then didn't. Well, this is exactly it. This is, I think, I'm going to say it was no more than a tenner, but it could have been more. And if it was more, I'm going to kick myself up the backside. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't buy it this weekend. I bought it around the Christmas period. But literally, right? Literally, Mark, that's your key ring, pal. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fucking bulky. It's not great quality.
Well, I mean,
giveaway price. That's what it was going to be. Won't be now.
You know, as key rings go, that's a fantastic key ring you've got there, and what a price for it. You know,
get me on the old shopping channel. Look, there you go. Look at this. Look, got a high quality key ring here. Great finish, dark metallic blue. Wear it on your hip. It's lovely. There you go. See, get me on the shopping channel.
It'll improve. I'm certain that it'll improve.
Yeah.
For the reasons
it needs to, because he's got a point. When he raised it with me, I was like,
I think for me, it's more about the fact that we have to spend it by a certain date. Why do you have to spend it by a certain date? Why can't that roll to the end of the season, or spend it on what you actually want to spend it on in the club shop or at part of the club? If anything, I get fans coming in, it's footfall into the shop, into the club shop, people paying money to buy the products, but
yeah,
why can't you spend it on what you want?
It's just classic. It's classic old town, not new town. So it needs to, and that's why I think we're raising it and talking about it, because under the previous regime, you would have said, "What do you expect? This is what we get. This is be thankful you're getting anything." This is not how the Americans do it. This is not how Ashton wants to do it. And
look at this comment here. That's bang on that. Bang on.
There you go. So I will take this to the football club, but I'm not expecting to get very far. I want to see Ashton's dashboard. I've started calling Mark Ashton Dashton, just by accident. I'm combining the dashboard and the Ashton. White D, Gov has a Drinnan and Hawkins poster going for under £1. It's funny you should say that, actually, because I was going through some stuff the other day, and look what this is what I pulled up, right? This is what turns up in my closet of town memorabilia. We've got a Luke Chambers, right? That you can have that. Anyone wants that? First person in the shop can have that. I've got a Bud. You're not having this. A Bartosz Białkowski, right? The king. We'll come to Walton next. He's the prince. Look at this, right? So, and I've got this. So, long story short, if you ever get me a poster of Kieran McKenna, I will hunt you down, because I like Kieran McKenna and I don't want him to foul. And so far, all I've got, exception of Bar, obviously, is failures. So,
hang on. How can you call Aaron Drinnan a failure? He's not been a failure this season.
Fucking, that's with us, pal. It's with us I care about. He could score for.
He didn't get enough chances. Why was he called? He was called the Daryl Murphy, wasn't he, for a reason?
Was he? Who called him that?
Yeah, loads of people called him Daryl Murphy. All the players did when he first signed.
I reckon that wallpaper paste is one of your head. That's what I reckon. You've had that or a bash on it. Right, moving it on. Sam Morsey, news cup. Oh, George, what are we drinking in the wine?
It's cherry beer, mate. It's pretty much all I've got in the house now.
Wow, is it? Is it? I thought I bought you beers at Christmas.
Yeah, I just drunk them.
You are, yeah. You need to get a meeting right. Mark Downing, I'd spend in the club shop every few weeks. Only the shipping cost is nearly the same as any purchase since Brexit. Look, Mark, right? Brexit, it means Brexit. All right, put up with it. Mike D, that Drinan and Hawkins has to be your backup, Gov. Mike James B, moments towards UEFA Cup shirt, do well. Yeah. Ask Matt Phillips about team card points. He had a great day today with them. Absolutely epic. I think he's in the chat actually, which is amazing because normally he's nowhere near. But if he's still there, he'll tell you all about it. Right, Sam Morsey, here we go. The FA have released the following statement. Ipswich Town's FC Sam Morsey has been charged with the breach of FA Rule E1 following their EFL League One match against Accrington Stanley. I'm sure we've all seen the incident. Mark, George, seen the incident in question. Yeah. Perfecto. The midfielder's behaviour. Fuck me, it wasn't that bad. What was he? Was it a birthday party and he's blowing the candles out early? The midfielder's behaviour during the 27th minute was not seen by the match officials, but it was caught on camera and allegedly constitutes violent conduct. Sam Morsey has until tomorrow to provide a response. The club will not be making any comment at this time. Well, the mogul went to work and spoke to a former FA source who said, he or she said this. The incident would have been reported to the FA after the match. It could have been reported in a number of ways, i.e. seen on TV coverage, highlights after the game, example, or a certain chairman tweeting. I don't know. I've had a date bit. The fact that it's been treated as not seen means none of the officials saw it at the time. The FA would have checked with all the officials once it became aware of the incident to make sure it was indeed not seen by any of them. Morsey has been charged, so he can now either accept or deny the charge of violent conduct. Likely, that means he'll miss Wimbledon tomorrow night as the case is heard before the next game, then Wednesday and Gillingham. Frivolous appeals that added a game suspension are no longer. So if he appeals, he won't get it extended. Only done when clubs knew they could play this. I don't know if I'm meant to read that bit out. I don't know. I want to stop reading there in case it's gone into a personal message. So, Sam Morsey. What are your thoughts on this one then, Mr. Tux?
Well, I saw it earlier. I watched it back earlier. And, I mean, he's clearly given him a bit of a dig, but I don't know. I mean, it's all a bit sort of handbags, really, I think. Accrington players were sort of doing, from what I could sort of see, same sort of level. Probably not as bad, but they were sort of going down easy. I didn't really understand what the chairman was on about. Like, he sort of came out and was digging out Morsey and then couldn't kind of handle the comeback that he was getting. Yeah. And it was just a bit odd, really. But I mean, as a professional footballer, you can't be doing that on a football pitch. But he's a fiery character, I think, Morsey, isn't he?
Doing what though, George? Because from my point of view, and I'll die on this hill, no problem at all. It's incidental contact, playing a contact sport. Football is all about contact. Now, for me, Ethan Hamilton, I believe, the Accrington Stanley player, he's put his hand out to know where Morsey is, to stop Morsey's run, to stop his movement. Morsey's then put his hand out to touch it away. That's football. And some fans on Twitter, which is one of them, saying if it was our player, we'd be screaming blue murder. I'd be saying it either way. Just get up and play football. Get on with the game. It was nothing. Handbags, I think, is a good description there from Mr. Tuxford. How do you see it?
Yeah, well, obviously I wasn't there, and I've only seen it from one angle. The suggestion.
You fair weather glory hunting supporter.
You can only see it from. I'm assuming that they must be able to see it from other angles because, and from I saw what Rich said yesterday about thinking it was a red card. So I assume he saw it from a better angle than you can from the camera. I think to pick the first point up you said about us. If it was the other way around, of course we'd have called for him to go off if it had happened and we'd been there. But in the cold light of day, we could have seen it with less blue tinted glasses on. But I think my initial instinct, there was really nothing in it. Honestly, there's nothing in it. I think if anything, he touches him no higher than here. And you're right. The other chap put his hand out to hold him off. And all Morsey did to me, and I think it's the speed that his arm goes that got him, was he just went to push him away so that he could run. And that's all I see is just Morsey trying to get to his arm, and he just misses his arm and basically gets him here somewhere. And the guy goes down like he's been punched in the nose, which I don't think, which I really don't think he did. And I might be wrong because it's a pretty difficult angle, but it did not look anything like as bad as the chap made it out to be. And I might be wrong, see it from a different angle, and it might be loads worse. But my instinct from having watched it a few times now from the same angle is there's absolutely nothing in it. It's the sort of thing that you'll see over and over again in a game. A defender putting his hand up to trap the run, to slow him up if he can. And Morsey, we know he could calm down a little bit. So
but there was no violence in it, was there? Would you say it was violent?
It was just the same as you would if someone put their hand on you and you threw their hand away. That's all he was trying. That's honestly what I thought he was trying to do. And yes, he shouldn't have put his hand up, but then you should argue that the other chap shouldn't have put his hand up either. You can't say you put your hand up, you're off, because the other chap had his hand up and clearly had his hand on his chest. Shouldn't matter how hard it is unless it's a punch. But if his hand is up, if the rule is hands up, then he should have got his hand off him in the first place.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. I mean, if the rule is contact, if we're going down the road of contact, this reminds me, Mark, and before I bring in, I've got Colin and Lee waiting to come in, and Jeremy, who bought me a coffee on Saturday. What a little legend you are, Jeremy. More people could take to follow your lead there. But if you, it reminds me of the Jonas Knudsen incident. I think it was Reading away, where Jonas is the only player in the history of football, I think, to be sent off for blocking on a corner. Because since then, it's a free-for-all. But he was sent off because it was a new rule, if I remember rightly. And then it was just dropped. This is what are we doing? This is football. This is what it's all about, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, the standard of refereeing on Saturday anyway was, well, shocking. We keep saying this week in, week out, that, League One refereeing, League Two refereeing, whatever it might be, is not good enough. And, that just sort of showcased that on Saturday. The amount of chances, that Accrington were having, they just got away with it. It sort of seemed like that he was wearing an orange shirt underneath, and it was just so weird that, like, it was just, he gave everything to them and not to us. And it was just, I don't know. It's refereeing standard, as I say, is just absolutely shambolic.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, George. My 71-year-old grandmother, she was not happy at full time. Believe me, she's never wanted to moan about referees, or swear. But she was not happy, George. And when she gets riled, he's been a bad ref. Quality of refereeing, I think, in general, is poor, isn't it? From the Premier League down to, it's not just a League One symptom, is it?
I think it's particularly bad in League One from what I've seen over the last 2 seasons.
But is that because you're in League One and referees at this point are £50 from Duncan Ferro? Good grief, Duncan! Thank you ever so much, my friend. Absolutely awesome show. The only Talk in Town officials are Pats this season. Yeah, absolutely. Duncan, I'm literally speechless, blown away from that. Thank you very, very much. Do you think it's because they're cutting their teeth as young referees, or they're, how do I diplomatically say this, referees of a certain age that haven't gone anywhere at a high level for a reason?
No, I don't think so. I knew a chap who was trying to get into refereeing, and I think he still does referee, but at a lower level. When I was at uni, that was 20 years ago, just over. And I still think he referees at League Two and below. I think he's lined a couple of times at League One and maybe in cup competitions. And I might be getting this massively wrong, but he's never made. It's not about age. It's supposed to be about talent, and they're supposed to earn their way up through the ranks. And to do that, they should be able to referee a game of football at this level. That's from what I've seen, and I didn't see enough of it on Saturday to comment too much. But one of those guys should have seen that incident. Given how close the ball was to the incident, someone should have seen it. I think that's
particularly where it was
right in front of the fourth official. Them all saying, if that statement's right about them all having been asked afterwards, and they all would have had to say they didn't see it, that's a real cop out.
I mean, that's why Andy Holt was upset, Mark, isn't it? Because he was right in front of the director's box. And
I mean, if you've got a great view of it, then fair play. But at the same time, I don't think he can really see much different from what that camera angle gave us, really. And obviously, he's going to be biased, because his player fell over. So, it'd be the same sort of situation if it was Ipswich. I'm sure we'd be up in arms about certain things if it was an Ipswich player. But as I say, I don't think there's much in it. Handbags. That's really about it for me.
Yeah. Callie says Sam was fuming earlier. Would hate to be opposite him on a pitch anytime soon. Carl then says £50, Duncan. Fair play. Gull can buy 3 kiwis of that in the club shop. 3? That many? Don't think so. Lee, Ando, talk to me, Lee. What's going on? How did you see Accrington Stanley? And of course, the incident with Morsey. What's going on?
Well, I'm with Callie on all this. I've got a picture here, and it's from Ipswich Culture on Facebook. and it's got a still, and the arm or his hand, whatever, if his fist, whatever it is, has got him in the shoulder, and it's under his chin here. It's here, somewhere here. So he's not hit him in the face. And we've all been around long enough to know if he got whacked him in the face, there'd be claret everywhere. If he's got his fist clenched, he hits him in the face, you know, he goes down. So I just hope that they've got enough camera angles to see that he's not actually punched him in the face. Now, I suppose the issue is the FA must feel there's a charge to bring, otherwise they wouldn't have charged him. They would have. Yes. There'd be no case to answer. So there's clearly a case to answer. There's clearly a 3-game ban on the cards, and I just wonder, you know, how that will be viewed at the end of the day. But we all know what the FA will do. Moores is going to get a 3-game ban, isn't he?
He is. Yeah.
The thing
He's going to get 3 games.
I wonder if they do have a case, because that statement's really weird as well. It says that it was caught on video, but he allegedly, whatever it was.
Yeah, well, that's the same point, isn't it?
If you saw something on video and you're raising a case, a disciplinary case against someone, you'd like to think that you're pretty sure that they've done something, and it wouldn't need an allegedly. You would say, we've got it on video, and he has aggressively confronted an opposite player. He has 24 hours to tell us otherwise. You wouldn't say he's allegedly.
That's the protocol.
Also, doesn't all of the evidence need to be brought to the case? So that's still image that you're talking about.
That's guilty until proven innocent. They're basically saying, "Come to us and prove to us that you're innocent."
You may not believe this about me, but when I play sport, or used to anyway, I was very competitive. So I've often had to deal with the FA for disciplinary matters as a manager and as a player. They always say allegedly. It's always allegedly until they condemn you. So that sort of verbiage doesn't surprise me.
It's the innocent till proven guilty, isn't it? It's like anything. So
that's what it should be.
It's allegedly until he's found guilty. And so if he pleads guilty, then he's guilty. If he pleads not guilty, then there'll be some sort of hearing. But you know, look what happens with judge and the referee. I mean, if Morsey gets a 3-game ban for that, a referee who's officiating a game who goes up and puts his head and aggressively towards judge off, you know, gets nothing. I think it's strange. But
what I would say is Matt's ex-FA sort of source that when he spoke to earlier said, the FA only charged for on-field incidents that they know, and 99% nailed on. Basically, had the referee seen it, then he would have been sent off. So what they've done is they've taken the incident either via a highlight, a TV, been flagged in whatever way they've taken it and been notified of it. They've asked the referee, who has said, yep, not seen it, linesman's not seen it, 4th official's not seen it. And then they've said, well, you know, would you have sent him off? Yes. And then they escalate it and take it higher, and here we are. We always were aware retrospective action could happen, though, weren't we, Lee? It was always in the background.
I just think he'll get done for whether it's a punch in the face. I don't think that's going to matter to the FA. I don't think. I think it's the fact that he's shoved him. Now, I don't agree with it, but the fact that he shoved him and pushed him that way. So if that's aggressive behaviour and he's raised his hands, you know, we all know, we've all been around long enough to know that you don't do that. The old Andy Gray comment is that don't give the referee a decision or somebody else a decision. You try not to do it. But in the heat of the moment, he's grabbed him. Morsey's trying to run past so he can get to the throw-in, you know, to try and make himself available. And your natural instinct is to push back, isn't it? Your natural instinct is to get off me and flail your arm. So that's a natural thing. And just one more point on that, because I think, you know, I mean, I've laboured it enough, really, I suppose, is that if Morsey is found not to have punched him in his face, then action should be taken against the Accrington player for holding his face and rolling around on the ground, because he's in sight and trying to get somebody sent off. That's, you know, if he's hit him in the face and he's held his face, so be it. If he's punched him in the shoulder and he holds his shoulder, then fair enough. But don't be running around holding your face if you've been hit in the shoulder.
I agree with that.
That's you know, it's not sour grapes. It's just a fact. And I think Crunch makes a point about it being the other way, doesn't he? You know, if that was the other way around, we'd be baying for blood and all sorts. Well, possibly, but you know, you asked the question. You know, you would protect your own player. You would try to be reasonable with it. But the FA, they've done what they've done. But I think everyone's looking at the ball, aren't they? They're looking at the ball and down the line because he's about to take the throw in. So I think the linesman looks down the line because he's looking for the ball. So he's not going to see it. The referee's clearly facing the way the play is going to go. So you can see, and even the fourth official might be doing a board, he might be facing the other way. He might have one of the managers might be in his ear, he might be looking away. You just don't really, you don't really know. And I think that's where, I suppose, VAR or cameras, they come into 20 years ago, that wouldn't have even been raised, would it? Because the ref wouldn't have seen it. But it's just difficult, really. And it's worse, I suppose, because the way Accrington played on Saturday, the way they were breaking the game up after 15 minutes. I've never seen so many big lads fall over and roll around. I think it's the second or third time this season. So, I can't remember who it was it Morgan or somebody else did it really early in the season, didn't they? No, it's sort of quite embarrassing. Oxford were another one, weren't they? They're just rolling around. But we've got to expect that. We've got to live with that at home. We know that's going to happen. We just have to get on with that and not, that's just part of the game now. We, as home fans, we have to live with that.
You're nodding away there, Mark. How did you see Accrington Stanley's sport gamesmanship at the weekend?
Poor. It didn't even exist, I don't think. The fact that they, like Lee's saying, they're just sort of falling over. And, this is not the only team that's done this at Portman Road. Oxford did it, like Lee said. And, League Two, Barrow were doing it. So,
yes, yeah.
It is going to happen, unfortunately. So, it's kind of the game management of it all a little bit probably plays into it. But at the same time, I think we're all men here and we're going to sit there and say to ourselves that, look, if someone...
Oh, we've lost you, Mark. We've
Twat.
lost you. Are you going to... Twat. we all heard that one. Hopefully he'll come back to us. We all heard that one. That was absolutely brilliant. What do you make of this one, George? Chris Boyd. We may lose Morsey for a few games, but we'll gain from losing our reputation as a soft team. With Norwood back in for a run and Morsey with a proper physical threat for the first time in a long time. Do you think that you're big on psychology? Do you think that's an important aspect of it? Actually, this strips away a few layers of that tag as a soft team.
I'm not sure because we've been like people have said in the chat, but we've been putting up with this sort of gamesmanship from League One teams for as long as we've been in League One. I think it just doesn't. It's not the sort of football that we play. Teams that I didn't see all of it at the weekend. I saw enough of it in the highlights, but teams like Oxford who were just appalling at it.
Yeah.
Like how frustrated it made me that game particularly, and that I'm not sure that we're seen as a soft touch necessarily, particularly people like Morsey. I think Morsey's seen as an easy target, to be honest. And I'm not sure whether that's something that he will or we want him to work out of his game. But I think he's seen as an easy target for opposition teams because he makes it a little bit, regardless of, I don't think he punched him. I don't think there was much in it, but he made it too easy to go down holding his face.
Yeah,
that's the long and short of it, isn't it? We made it too easy for him to make a fuss. I'm
just going to write down that intro. I think that's a great intro for every single show. Good evening, shithouses. And you are my shithouses. James Hobson, this is League One gamesmanship. It's part of it when you don't have quality. Also the reason why you play better against teams you actually try and play. Craig from Portsmouth, welcome in. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to talk to you on Saturday. You came over for a chat and then I saw poor Ben on the camera with his hands like that, and I had to go and rescue him. Sorry. Hopefully catch up with you at the next home game, whenever that may be. That seems like a distant memory away, but I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to chat. Lee, before I let you go and bring in, Tux is back. There he goes. Tux, where you broke up at the wrong time, and all we heard was twat. Literally, that's all we heard.
Yeah.
Who was a twat? We have to know. The lawyers have to know. Who was a twat?
I think I was more about saying twatting across the face, as in hitting across the face, rather than calling an actual person a twat. But
there we go.
If you want to be a twat, Martin, that's you can be if you like.
Has been said many a time. Has been said many a time. Welcome back, Lee. Before I let you go, James Norwood did not play Saturday. Do you expect him back in the lineup for tomorrow night, or would you keep with the same three quartet of Selina, Chaplin, and Bon?
Wow, you've got to keep the same team, haven't you, if it's working? I mean, it's quite interesting because just very quickly, we were talking a few weeks, it was being said about where does Selina now fit into this team? we're playing 2 up top. Where will he play? Well, actually, he's played 2 number 10s behind a striker.
Yes.
So I think Norwood. I think Norwood is still Bond's backup at the moment. I don't see it any other way unless you're going to play 2 strikers. Why rotate if people are fit? I don't personally agree with that. Myself, if they're fit, you play the same team. The only time you do it is tactically. You might change it. So those front 3 may well change depending on tactics and how you want to play. But we got the ball on the deck, played through when we got it down, and I think that was good. But I think I just wonder if Piggott and Jackson will be off now if we've got Simpson back. I don't know if you're going to tell that later, but I think it's
just now. Good point. Before you go into that, I've got Callie, Matt, and Hock saying, "Ando, give us a wave." Ando. Hey, you used the wrong arm. You were like that on Saturday. I got a message from him saying wave, right? There's 20-odd thousand people here. Wave. In what bloody direction do you want me to wave, Lee? And then he said,
"You knew I was in Sir Bobby. You knew I was in Sir Bobby."
But you didn't say up or lower, so I'm literally
above
I'm
that
searching
sign.
where Tuck sits, thinking somewhere in there is Lee Anderson.
I was standing up as well, but it doesn't make much difference when I stand up, does it? The height thing's no good unless I stand on the chair. You're not going to see me. But I think I put my light on.
You did. The flash caught me. The flash.
Yeah,
you flashed
the flash.
me.
Yeah, the flash. Yeah,
the flash.
Always flashing at the weekends, eh?
Well, absolutely. It caught my eye. That's for absolute sure. Tyrese Simpson. I'll keep you here for this point as you've raised it. We'll start with yourself, George. Tyrese Simpson being recalled or has been recalled. What does that mean for Joe Piggott, Caden Jackson, for Tyrese Simpson himself? James Norwood, Stuart Watson reported he's going to be staying at the football club, but we've got a number of clubs interested in Wigan, Lincoln, Portsmouth, Preston. Would you keep James Norwood still, or would you cash in? Lots of questions. To start us off on answering one of
them. So Simpson, who knows? That took me by surprise, to be honest with you. I thought he was going to. I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. And it makes sense to keep him there for his development for the rest of the season, unless we're bringing him back to either loan him out again to a League One club, or someone's on the way out and he's going to cover for the rest of the season, which would be good. But if he's going to stick around for the rest of the season, I hope he gets a chance. Otherwise, it feels a bit of a waste of time, really, because he's just going to come back and play in the under-23s or sit on the bench, which is an experience of its own. But I can't imagine there's much replacement for playing league football week in, week out. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's positive for him either way.
I think loan or play are really the only 2 options, isn't they, Tuck? So if we go with the play for a moment, if we say Kieran McKenna's identified something in Tyrese and it's a different option from the bench, where does that leave Joe Piggott, Caden Jackson, James Norwood on a last 4 months of a deal with an option, admittedly, but there's some players there that are going to be moved on, surely. But or is there? You talk to me. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think James Norwood, agree with Carl there. He's our best striker. I've said it for a long time. I think, even.
But do you look to cash in with a host of teams after him?
Well, no. I mean, where are you going to get a better striker at the moment? I mean, he's sort of in form. He's scoring goals. When he plays, he scores. Like, he's got, goal in 2, I think. So that's his kind of ratio. So for me, you don't get better strikers than that for me. And on Tuesday, tomorrow night, I would be starting Norwood over Bon. So, I think for me, Bon's had a very good season to date, but, some people need a rest. And I think Bon has probably, played well, but needs a rest. So, I'd be putting Norwood back in. He's on form, chomping at the bit. But, in answer to your question about Simpson, again, I was surprised, agree with George. I was completely surprised that he come back, because I thought, if anything, he really should be spending the season at Swindon, getting game time, getting confidence, come back in the new season, and actually challenge for a starting spot. So, he comes back now as backup, and will that dent his kind of confidence? Will that dent his kind of progression in a way?
Or is it boost to the confidence that McKenna sees something in him potentially?
Well, it is. But I mean, it's, when do you get that kind of chances? And I mean, you look at Joe Piggott, scored God knows how many goals last season, can't really get a chance at the moment. albeit he hasn't really taken his chance, I wouldn't say, when he has played, but he hasn't really been given that much of a chance, especially under Cook. So I think, if none of those, if Piggott and Jackson don't go, I just find that absolutely abysmal that he's had to be brought back and not given his full season out on loan. Really, I think that dents his confidence, dents his progression. So yeah, I mean, if anyone's going, it's got to be Jackson, surely. I don't know where he fits even in this sort of style. He certainly didn't fit Paul Cook's style, so I don't know where he goes from here. But I mean, Piggott and Jackson. I mean, Jackson for me is useless out wide, useless up top on his own for me. But if you play him in a 2 for another side, like say if he went to Sunderland or something and played up front with Stewart, I actually think he'd score goals because that's how he plays. That's how he wants to play. But he's never going to get that here, unfortunately.
AFC Wimbledon's being mentioned in the chat in terms of Simpson being off there. Looking at, I mean, even when you take Simpson out of the equation, Lee, Jackson, Norwood, Bond, Piggott, Chaplin who can play up front. You got the options to play a 1 up front. There's a lot of options. So Caden Jackson, Joe Piggott. Is one going out on loan? One going on a permanent? Both going out permanently? Both going out on loan? Something's got to give, because if I'm Joe Piggott, Lee, I'm not happy. It's January 24th, and the last time I started a game, I think people like Boris Johnson. Like, it's been that long ago since he started a game of football.
Yeah, I mean, we've all felt sorry for Piggott, haven't we? He's come in, he's been on the 20-odd goals a season, and he's not got a look in. McKenna's had a look at him. I just think with Simpson, why bring him back to loan him again if he's already getting games where he is? If you send him to another club, he might not get games. He might be down the pecking order at the minute.
So why would you try to cut across you? But then AFC Wimbledon, for example, they're in League One. That isn't that better for the progression to go there under a guaranteed, not guaranteed because you can't guarantee it, but under that's better surely, isn't it, than playing at Swindon?
If he doesn't play, what happens if he doesn't play? And he's missed out on 15 games for Swindon. I can't see how you would bring him back to loan him out. I think, there's two things. I think a couple of strikers will go, at least definitely one, maybe two.
Who?
And I think that'll be Jackson and Piggott, unless Norwood is sold. I think McKenna would keep Norwood because he brought him on.
That's
and it was quite.
Is it permanent? Is it loans? What are you doing with Jackson and Piggott? You're the man who controls it.
He's in the last 6 months of his contract. So if he's either a loan with a view to a permanent deal, probably for him. Piggott probably got 2 years left on his contract. He would probably go out on loan, perhaps, to give him some games if he's not getting a look in. But you would keep. What was quite interesting Saturday was Jackson came on ahead of Piggott. At the end.
That. Yeah.
So I don't know if that was because of the pace or for whatever reason, but Piggott's obviously better on the ball than Jackson. I think so. So Simpson, I just wonder if McKenna wants Simpson back with an eye for next season, because you don't really know what a player's like until you work with him. So you can watch all the videos you like, and I just wonder if he's thinking, right, we'll get him back. Let's see him for the rest of the season, and go from there. So I wonder if that, but time will tell with it. But I think at the moment, if you watch all Simpson's goals, or most of them, they're all very much on the counter attack, and we're not a counter attack team at the moment because teams are sitting behind. So I don't know how he fits into that lone striker role with his back to goal. That's just so. He scored some great goals and he's doing really well. And I said that he wouldn't be good enough, and I'm happy to put my hands up and say, wow, the guy's gone off and he's done really well. But I just think the way when you watch all these goals are on the counter attack, and I just wonder. I wonder if that's. But then McKenna brings him back to see. So time will tell.
But Mark, if living in Lee's world for a minute, if that is the case, you've just been speaking about you'd be upset. So surely you'll be as a fan, you'd be outraged if he's been brought back just for a look in training for the next 3-4 months.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you've got strikers ahead of him that are more experienced. Okay, they're not in form, but you probably back them to do the business for this kind of league and size of the club. Whereas Simpson's still a kid, and he's still learning his trade. So for me, I would have kept him at Swindon for the rest of the season. But we go back a little bit when you were saying about would it be progression to go to a League One club, say like a Gillingham or someone like that, to go and play games. And yes, it would. You can't guarantee the games, but at the same time, you can't guarantee any football. So you've got to, if you're serious about a career in football, you have to move up the ladder, don't you? Whether that be a loan or a permanent deal, whatever it might be. But yeah, I found it a weird one. I was really surprised when I heard it the other day, because I did obviously think he was going to spend the full season at Swindon.
Yeah, I think we all did. George,
I think. Sorry, just one more point, because then you can chuck me off or whatever.
I will do.
I mean, with Simpson as well. Don't forget, he won't be classed as a senior player, so that gives wriggle room in the squad to bring somebody else in. If you can't move players on, so if he's going to be second striker, third striker, or he's going to be on the bench every week instead of Piggott and that, the bonus there is he's not eating into your 22 players. Everything is 22, isn't it? So that might be another reason as well. So there's lots of pros and cons, but are they doing it? I mean, at the end of the day, are they doing it for what's best for the player, or what's best for the club? That's the thing, because I don't think you can always.
I would have thought playing games, Lee. Sorry to cut across you. Is good. Is beneficial for both. I get your point. I just think that's why they employ scouts. Like that's why I would employ a scout for. You want this player to play him regularly. Let's assess him in competitive setting, because quite frankly, you could play 10 out of 10 up Monday to Friday. If you crap on a Saturday afternoon against blokes that you don't know, don't count for nothing. But George, I just want to ask you very quickly before we sort of bring Colin in and move Lee on. Caden Jackson was given a new deal in the summer. Is that now proving to be a mistake?
I imagine he probably thinks it is. Will be my instinct. I think Jackson will move on, and I think Piggott will move on too. If I'm honest, loans or not, I think. I really quickly circling back to Simpson. I'd sooner, if he's going to go to a League One club and sit on the bench, I'd rather he stayed with us and sat on the bench and learned Ipswich the style of football that McKenna wants to play. I wonder if McKenna's brought him back to have a look at him in his training sessions, in the formations that he wants to play. As Lee says, if he's not been playing that at Swindon and he's not entirely sure, did Crunch say that his contract's up in the summer?
But he's got an option.
Maybe he just wants to have a look at him, and maybe he'll be gone again before the end of the week once he has had a look at him. Or maybe he'll, because he offers something different to the strikers that we have here at the moment, certainly from a physicality perspective. And maybe if we're going to play this 2 number 10s formation that we played on Saturday, he might suit that one up top. He might be thinking that he's an ideal sub to bring on, because he probably plays it better than Piggott and or Jackson, given that Jackson came on ahead of Piggott on Saturday. But who knows? It's interesting. I'm certainly interested to see the thinking behind it, but it's all just speculation at the moment. It's totally come out of the blue, hasn't it?
Well, this is it. It really is a speculation at the moment. But Lee, we love you. We appreciate you. Look after
guys.
yourself. All right.
See you later.
Before we bring Colin in. Oh, hello. I won't bother asking, George.
I was going to say, don't ask me.
That's no point. If you can't make Portman Road, mate. Hang on, Tony B, you really should get life insurance, Gov. Use Duncan's 50 quid. Absolutely. Yeah, get life insurance. I should get life insurance. Fuck me. Is my wife in the chat here? This is ridiculous. Colin, I'm in my prime. Somebody said on Twitter, Colin, it's a bit embarrassing, middle-aged men arguing. I'm 30 fucking one. I hope I'm not. No, sorry, I'm 32. I hope I'm not middle-aged at 32. I want to live till I'm at least 75, not 64.
You're nowhere near middle age, young man.
Thank you very much. Right, the Dons, Wombles of Wimbledon on the horizon. How are you feeling? I know you're always positive, but what's our points return this week got to be? I'll ask all of you. I'll start with you, Colin. What's our points return got to be this week? You got 6 points on offer. The playoffs are up for grabs. Well, what are we talking, Colin?
Well, from now, I mean, I said before Saturday, 7 points would just have been would have been acceptable. So, like from now, from the Wimbledon game and the Sheffield Wednesday game, you take 4 points. But I'm looking, I'm praying that we get 6. Look, we can't get less than 4. That's an absolute. We just can't get less than 4 points.
Okay.
We get 2, an average of 2 points per game out of those 2 games. That wouldn't be too bad.
Mark, Goat says 4 points. Lee says 6. Does the Morecambe result earlier in the year, does the Bolton result recently, does that put pressure on you? Does that mean actually, 4 points in an ideal season? Yeah, that's great. Brilliant. We'll move on. But actually, we've got to take all 6 here. We've slipped up too often.
Well, again, I said it the other week where, each team has got something to play for now, and whether it's for a good thing or a bad thing. But I think after Saturday, I would have been inclined to say 6 points. However, I do think that Morsey not potentially being available might actually do a bit of harm. So, and I'm purely saying that because until Backinson come in, I just didn't see anyone that could really do that role as well as Morsey can. Lee Evans for me is a passenger, so there's no point
injured.
Yeah, good. But
Income
Morsey,
protection.
Morsey not potentially playing for the next couple of games might be a bit of a detriment to us. But yeah, I'd like to say 6, but it might even be 4 at this rate. Yeah.
Okay. So you got somebody else going for 4. George, 19 new signings in the summer. Backinson's come in now. I heard a whisper that he didn't even have boots with him at the weekend. He had to borrow Luke Wolfenton's. Don't know how true that is. I'm going to go with it because it's a lovely story. Yes, Morsey's a character. I love him as much as anybody else. He's really grown on me last couple of weeks. But you've got to have players that can surely step into the breach and come back with 6.
Yeah. If you're asking me how many I think we need, I think we need 4, because I think we need 2 points a game all season long. And even forgetting the indiscretions of earlier in the season, and you start from when McKenna took over, just losing 1 game in those 4 only puts us to the good of 1 point for 2 games. So we can't afford to lose more than that. We just can't. So I think, we need 4 points. We need to keep going at 2 points a game. So that's what we need. I'd love us to get 6. And I don't think that's beyond the realms of possibility with or without Morsey. So yeah, is there no chance that he plays tomorrow? I haven't really been following along in terms of
we don't believe we don't believe so. We believe the hearing will be heard before the fixture and that it would be ruled that it could well be Wimbledon he start off with. But Mark, Evans and Morsey starting midfield pair since Morsey's come in, both could be out for Wimbledon or Wednesday. Either way, it's not great. Who steps in for you? Who is your midfield 2 from the point of Morsey and Evans not being available then?
I mean, I think you've got to say Backinson because he comes in and he's the natural kind of replacement. But at the same time, he hasn't had a lot of games recently. So, he might just get like sort of 60, an hour or so to play and then might get replaced. I don't know. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I thought Carroll was okay on Saturday. Again, wasn't great in the challenge, but put in a few good passes. So potentially those 2. But obviously Matt's saying there Harper, so he's another one that could come in.
Player of the year.
So yeah, I wouldn't be too disappointed to see Harper come in. If anything, I'd start Harper over Evans anyway. So yeah.
Mike D, I heard Tux wants Elmis and Clements to start.
Oh no.
Colin,
No.
Mark mentioned Tom Carroll there. How did you see Thomas Carroll's performance? Would he be the man that steps in with Backinson? Would it be 2 others? Would it be 1 other? How do you see it go? You've seen a lot of football over the years.
I must admit, the first half I was very, very underwhelmed by Carroll. But he grew on me in the second half. I thought his passing was good second half. Like Tux quite rightly said, he is weak in the challenge, but there again, it isn't his game really. He's more of a pass and move kind of player. Unlucky not to score. Like I say, second half grew into the game. And I must admit, I thought he finished the game very well, to be perfectly honest with you. Like Matt quite rightly said, Harper, people like that. I said all along, if people backtrack on these shows, I said all along, come like the middle to like the second third of the season, the squad would come into this, and the squad will come into this. This is why please hear me out, Gav. This is why the likes. I mean, I thought they were a very good footballing side. People like Plymouth, even Wickham slightly, Portsmouth definitely, and others. They've slipped up here and there. I still say with the suspensions, they'll still be coming. Suspensions and injuries will always come, especially at this stage of the season when the pitches get a little bit worse and all this and the other. I still say this will be one of the things that possibly will see us through to the playoffs. The fact that we've got the squad that we've got. I mean, people can laugh, Gov, all they like about people like Raheem Harper, but there's not many clubs in this Mickey Mouse League who've got players like him who can't even make an 18.
I know.
And
year just sat on the sidelines. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
There's a lot of clubs in Division 1 would like to be able to, fit somebody like him into their team with the injuries and suspensions, what these clubs will be getting.
Well, they can do so, Colin, because he's available for loan. So, let's see who actually does want to pick up. But if I don't know if I'm confident, George, with Tom Carroll and Backinson playing Wimbledon on Wednesday, or playing one of. Backinson's been here for a cup of coffee. Does he know the game plan? Does he know his responsibilities fully for 90? Tom Carroll, Goat says he underwhelmed, then he grew into the game.
McKenna loves him though, don't he? McKenna absolutely adores Carroll.
But he was underwhelming, and he only got better when he went off.
I actually thought he was soft for our goal. I know Mike. I saw Mike playing the goalkeeper yesterday, but I thought Tom Carroll was primarily responsible for our goal. He was soft in the second ball. Didn't make a challenge for the chap that got the ball off him, turned on him and ran to the edge of the box, and he just let him go. He ran. You watch him run. He just runs in a straight line into the box. He's not tracking anyone. He's not doing anything at all. I thought he was really sloppy. I thought it was really sloppy play from Carroll. So
sorry to cut across you, George. I've just thought of something. I think out of the two games, I think the one game that might suit Tom Carroll, thinking about it from a footballing point of view, obviously never ever going to be like an Arnold Mir and stuff like that, but somebody who likes to play the game, likes to pass it, likes to play the beautiful game the right way. I think the game on Saturday, possibly against Sheffield Wednesday, will suit Tom Carroll. I'm not so sure about tomorrow night.
Suddenly, I'm just looking at the list of options, Mark, in front of me, and hearing what the Goat said there, and completely get the Goat's opinion. He's seen a lot of football, but a position of strength, or seemingly a position of strength, has suddenly become wide open, and it's there. You've got Evans, who could be out for a number of weeks. We don't know. It's a groin injury. We don't know how long, how short, or whatever the severity is. And obviously, Morsey will miss 3 games, we believe, eventually. It's there for somebody to step forward out of the pack, be that El Mizani, be that Raheem Harper, be that Backinson, be that Carroll. It's there for somebody to step forward and really lay down a marker that means you can't be dropped when Lee Evans' groin is back and up and running, when Sam Morsey is served these 3 games.
Yeah. I wonder whether Brett McGavin might actually get a recall.
Fucking hell.
Because he's probably, if you think about it, if he was still in the squad, he'd be there. He'd be there or thereabouts now. Because, from a defensive point of view, purely from a defensive point of view, as a defensive midfielder, he would be in and around that squad because he is that next person. He's that next defensive midfielder. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see him back. If we send Simpson back, then Christ, McGavin can come back, can't he? So I wouldn't be surprised to see that. But on current squad,
here or being honest, I can't quite decide.
No, I am being generally honest. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that happening. But also,
why don't we just pick the most attacking side in history and put a Luco in and play Selena and play Fraser? Nobody's mentioned Fraser.
Yeah, that's the point.
He's my pick.
No, Gov, nobody's mentioned Fraser. He seems to be like the invisible man.
Jamie Legg, Fraser is being totally overlooked. His assist record last season was second to none. About time he got a proper run out. I see you all agreeing with that. But none of you mentioned him 5 minutes ago.
I completely forgot about him. I didn't
get a chance to give you my two.
He had some sort of
like Harry Hindsight. Harry Hindsight, all of you. Oh yeah, Fraser. Yeah, yeah.
I think if you go back over the last few,
I'll tell you what, Gav. If Evans and Morsey are not available tomorrow, I'll be absolutely staggered if he's not in the 18.
Well, there you go. I'll bring Jeremy as we round up the show. Jeremy, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Good man. Who would your midfield two be, Jeremy?
Midfield, I'd have a Luco in there somewhere.
In the centre, in the centre is a 10. How? Because obviously you've got Evans and Morsey both out, and Selena and Chaplin, who, to be fair to him, Jeremy, have just had a tremendous game at home to Stanley. So who are you dropping? How are you figuring that one out?
Oh, that's a question.
Well, I do like to ask him, Jeremy. I do think it's my job. Honestly, though,
otherwise, I'd say Fraser, as everyone's been saying.
Nobody was saying Jeremy until 5 minutes ago. George, you were complaining. Sorry, not complaining. You were mentioning. You were going to mention Fraser. Tell us about Fraser then. What about Fraser, in your opinion, makes him sort of stand out?
He's just been overlooked, hasn't he? So much, and he's played in that Evans role this season, and he played it fine. I'd have him in for my 11 would be the same as I've given it to you, but with Fraser in for Morsey and Backinson in the Morsey role.
Yeah, I mean, Mark Dowling makes a point in the chat, George, that Backinson's not come to sit on the bench. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think
he's the reason. This was the conversation we had on the transfer show. We were sort of umming and ahhing. Is he here to play? Is he here as an option to prove himself? This is a great opportunity for him, Jeremy, isn't it? To come forward and, lay down the marker, as I was just saying a second ago.
Well, I'd like to see what Tyreek has got to offer.
Yeah. Did you like what you saw at the weekend? Obviously, wasn't expecting to play.
Didn't see much of him to make an honest opinion, to be honest.
Did we see the turn? Can somebody confirm that they saw the turn when he turned the two Accrington Stanley players inside out? It was a bad touch, really. It was a bad touch, but he managed to turn them both. Did we see the kid when we scored the second goal run on the pitch?
Yeah, I saw that.
Was that not a surreal moment?
It was.
Time just suddenly stopped. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? He came from nowhere, Mark, didn't he? It was like, whip it.
I think it was. I think everyone wants to be that kid, don't they? When your team scores, you can run on the pitch, go celebrate with your players, your heroes, and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's great from that perspective. And then when he came off, because he was literally in front of me, where he sat, and the stewards were trying to chase him, and it was quite comical to watch because he literally flew over the rail. But yeah, that's what football's all about, though, isn't it? Really. So
where did he come on from, Tux?
He came from the bottom of the Cobbold stand.
Did he?
Yeah, and he just sort of came
where
off
Bono
on the
sits.
side. Yeah.
Oh, right.
That sort of area. The thing is, though, Rich was saying yesterday that him and his family, or him or his dad, whatever, him, let's go with him, will get a ban for that.
Yeah.
Which I just found like, you're England's third tier. Surely you want that passion from young fans like that. You want George. You want your kids, George, don't you, to run on the pitch and ask, do you know, the Ashton free shirt? That's what you want, isn't it?
I'd probably have a word with him if he did, but yeah, I wouldn't expect to be banned for it.
No.
If he couldn't control his passion, I think that's fine. It's a lesson to learn, isn't it? Because it's frowned upon these days. But yeah, there's no ban for the folks for that.
I think there is a difference, isn't there? If an adult was to do it, then you kind of sit there and think, he might be carrying something. Never know what he might be carrying. But if it's a kid,
true.
again, that could be in the same sort of element. But at the same time, it's a kid just sort of showing his passion.
Absolutely.
He literally came on and pretty much ran off at the same time. So, I just think that he got caught up in the emotion. I don't think there's any need to ban him, really, to be honest.
What made it even better, though, Tux, was one of your guys, well, I want to say one of your guys, somebody in your section let off a flare at the exact same time. So you've got this blue smoke and this kid storming the pitch like a little whippet, running on for 5 minutes, running off. I was like, the goal itself was a bit of a surprise. Was it going to be allowed? Time just suddenly stopped for me. I was like, this is surreal. We scored a goal. And the referee is just mad because it shouldn't have actually been allowed to stand, Jeremy, because I think the Accrington Stanley player kicked it. So, and it was Sam Morsey who should have been sent off, apparently. So it makes it town are suddenly shit houses. Look at this. Shit house FC. It's about fucking time, isn't it? Christ.
I'll tell you what, Andy Holt would have Morsey in his team all day long.
Yeah, he would.
Andy Holt.
Was your coffee all right Saturday?
Jeremy, it was the best coffee I've ever had because I got a cookie from Matt's done at the exact same time. So I had a coffee and a cookie.
It took sugar or not, you see? So.
No, I'm sweet enough as it is, Jeremy. No, honestly, thank you so much. It was really, really kind of you. Tony B says, Colin, isn't it nice to have a team where it's hard to pick our best team because there's plenty of quality rather than the other way around? Long gone are the years of Scugless. I've added that bit in, but...
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we've got so many options. Maybe not so many at the minute with what's happened over the last couple of days, but I mean, like I say, that's going to be our strength, I think. Going and not only that, what's disappointed me so much today when Rich told me about this Morsey thing. I was still at work actually, and what disappointed me when I come off the phone and I was thinking about it driving home is that, like you quite rightly said, Gov, the other day, after we've done our little shunt up to South Yorkshire and been to Hillsborough, February, and like I say, before everybody bites me head off, it's not played on paper, but February looks a really decent month. And, if we can stay virtually injury and suspension free, I think by the end of February, I think that table could look one hell of a lot of different, and especially obviously if we have a decent week this week.
Absolutely. Well, let's look at this week then. So, what are we thinking ahead of tomorrow, Mr. Tuxford? Are you confident? Are you going to go for 3 points? What are you saying?
I mean, I'll go back to the Morsey comment. I do feel it's going to be a bit of a detriment to us. I don't know. I'm sort of there's something saying to me that we're going to draw it, but we do need to win these games. If we want anything out of this season, we need some sort of consistency. And
we got nothing last year out of this, did we?
Yeah,
we didn't beat them last year.
Yeah, and it's a tough place to go, and it is a tough team to play. And like Colin just said there, February could be quite a nice month, but these teams have got something to play for at the end of the day. They're not, it doesn't mean that they're top of the league or, whatever else, but bottom of the league, they've still got something to play for. And these sides just suddenly turn up out of nowhere. So that's the problem that we've got now. But yeah, with regards to tomorrow, I'm not sure. I see a draw coming just because of Morsey.
Well, hope you're wrong, Touch. I really hope you're wrong.
So do I.
George, you've sent your lineup in. We've got very similar to Tuxford's. The only change between the pair of you was help me, Mark. It's one change. I think it was Selena, wasn't it? I think you had Chaplin and he's got Selena, or was it Norwood? One of the two. But you've gone for Walton, Burns, Sanassi, and Wolfenden, Edmondson, Vincent Young, Backinson, Morsey, Selena, Bonn, and Norwood. So who comes in for you now, George, with Morsey being possibly suspended? Okay, so Fraser steps into the breach for yourself. You've dropped Chaplin.
Yeah.
Talk me through that one.
I mean, I think that it was a tough one. I think either it will be 2 number 10s again, or we'll go back to 2 up top, and I just plump for 2 up top. I wouldn't surprise me at all, and I certainly wouldn't be disappointed if it's Chaplin in there again with Bon up front, or potentially Norwood. We're sport for choice, aren't we, at the moment? So I'd be more than happy with either approach. Whether he goes back, I don't know whether I assume the tactical change wasn't forced by the injury to Evans on Saturday, given looking at the squad before that. But I think just gut instinct, but it's probably wrong. It's usually wrong.
Okay, the change actually was Bon. Surprisingly, Mark, you didn't have Bon in your lineup. Talk me through why you would drop Macaulay Bon.
No, I touched upon it briefly earlier, where I just feel like he probably needs a rest, and he hasn't scored for. I know he scored against Gillingham, but like his record at the moment isn't great. But I also do think he offers something, so I don't think he's not offering anything at all. But if you're looking at like playing that singular striker with a Chaplin alongside him, I would say that Norwood's got to be that man for me. As I said earlier, he is our best striker in my opinion, and I would be building my team around him. Albeit for the kind of injury problems that he's had. So, I think Norwood's got he's got to start. He's scoring goals, and for me, Bon probably just needs a little rest, and like to fight for his place again, really, because at the same time, your strikers need to score goals. That's how they stay in the side, and Bon isn't really doing that at the moment, whereas Norwood is. So I feel it's a bit unfair that Norwood wouldn't play, to be honest.
Do you think they're just simply managing Norwood's minutes, Mark? That's all Saturday really was, just minute management.
Potentially, yeah. But I mean, you've got to look at like what Bon's contributed this season. He's played virtually every minute, and he's not got a rest. So we have to kind of manage, I think, his minutes a little bit as well, because otherwise he could get an injury. So
absolutely,
you've got to look at it from that point of view. And I think you've got to play players that are in form at the end of the day. For me, you've got to be starting Chaplin, you've got to be starting Norwood, because these guys are scoring, they're on form. And for me, Selena is a certain starter every week, really, just because of his pure quality and his skill. But where does that leave Aluko? But I think the trouble with Aluko is, for me, that like he absolutely runs games, and then he kind of has that period where he doesn't really offer anything at all, and it's probably like a 15-20 minute period where he's quite quiet. But that might be due to his kind of like age. He's like sort of 32, 33 now, and he can't do it all the time. But I think Selena, for me, would be the one coming in for him. But yeah, I mean, the team I've picked for tomorrow night, it's got a bit of strength there, it's got a bit of skill. The only player I would probably change, obviously, would be Morsey out of that, because obviously he might not be playing. So yeah, you'd be looking at Fraser or Carroll, and I do think he'd go for Carroll because McKenna seems to absolutely love him from his time at Tottenham. So yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised if it's Backinson and Carroll.
Sorry, Mark. Some people in the chat have reminded us, or reminded myself, I think, that Fraser is or was injured, so we don't know the state of his fitness. So if it is Fraser that is injured still or unfit.
By the way,
Mark, hang on, Colin. So George, would you obviously with that reminder, who would be stepping in for you if it's not going to be Fraser? If he's not fit enough.
I'd probably stick with Carroll if that's where he's at. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Aluko gets another day off, given that his little girl's only 3 days old. Congratulations to him, by the way.
Congratulations. Colin, score prediction, please. We round up the hour and 17-minute show. What a blockbuster. They say nothing happens on a Monday. You see, it all kicks off on a Monday.
0-2.
0-2. Of course it is.
Yeah.
Colin loves an away day. That's what I've heard.
Jeremy. Can't wait for Saturday.
Oh, I do love playing away. Oh, that when the soccer aim was good. That was quality back in the day. Jeremy, score prediction, please.
0-6.
Fucking hell. Don't hang up. Don't hang up. Say what you feel, Jeremy. Don't hang about, mate.
Hat trick for Norwood.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you know what? I don't condone betting, but that if you find a tenner on the back of the sofa, because 6-0 with Norwood hat trick, that's some fucking good odds, George.
Can I just say to dear Jeremy, what a birthday present that would be for the cruncher.
Oh,
That
yeah,
would
it's his
be,
birthday
yes.
tomorrow, isn't it?
Happy birthday, by the way, Rich, for tomorrow.
He's really
Yes,
modest, though.
Happy birthday, Rich.
He doesn't mention it. He's not mentioned it. He's not got his friends to come on the
Is
show
he
and mention it.
21, is he?
20 and the rest. George, score prediction, please.
0-3.
0-3.
Oh, love that.
Right. Not to put any pressure on you here, Mark, but I absolutely do not want you to say Town will win, because every time it's a one-way traffic with score predictions, we end up getting embarrassed. So, score prediction, please.
Well, I did say a draw, so I'm going to go for a 2-2.
Okay, you've restored a little bit of parity there. So we are back live tomorrow, 7:15, with the pre-game show. The Tuesday team, myself, Neil, and Steve will be with you tomorrow night for the match day ticket for those that aren't going, and for even those that are going. Pre-game, halftime, and post-game for the fans to react.
Is it on iFollow?
It certainly is, Jeremy. You can access it via iFollow and watch us via YouTube. The club haven't yet seen fit to put us two together on their platform. I don't know why. They should do. Let's be brutally honest. Everyone watches us. But what I was going to say was, hopefully tomorrow in the chat, we're not going to get a lot of people saying we're going to win, because it always worries me, Mark, when we do it. Because last year we had AFC Wimbledon got embarrassed within the first 15 minutes. Northampton, we got embarrassed. It's just always a bad case. But we will see tomorrow. Start of a busy week. Got to be 6 points for me. Tonight has been really good. That has been Jeremy, absolutely beautiful. Colin, you have been wonderful as always. We will see you next time we see you. And look at that! Wow, 3 large heads, but 3 wonderful heads all the same. He has been the peaky one, the guy with the award-winning. It's not really award-winning, but I'm going to give it an award anyway. An award-winning intro. He has been the designer, Mr. George Nunn. I've taken his handiwork off the screen. Sorry, George. There you go. Prediction League is in play. Check our social media for that. We ran out of time to mention that, really. Never mind. But until tomorrow, 7:15, with love, with care. Goodbye, you shithouses.
We're on a journey, looking back on the things that we've taken for granted, but feels like we're learning to be better.